So you want to go trucking in the ag industry? Well, let's talk about it. Yeah, guys, so today we're going to talk a little bit about the opportunities, the advantages, disadvantages of working in the agriculture industry as far as trucking is concerned. And this, you got to remember, this kind of applies to my specific situation. This is not all ag trucking related job experiences, the experiences you might have in working in the agriculture industry as a truck driver. My situation is a little unique, and we're going to talk about the pros and the cons of my specific situation, and then we will talk a little bit about what goes on in the agriculture industry and some other situations too. We'll kind of delve into that. So my number one pro for working in the ag industry, in trucking, is home time. We get a lot of it. We get a lot of home time, y'all. And, you know, in my situation, for about 5 months out of the year, from, say, September till about the end of January, sometimes the middle of February, we are in our cotton harvest season. And we take care of a gin that's right there at our house. So we pretty much are running locally then here in the Texas Panhandle, home every night. And that really helps out a lot with the family life in my situation. My wife doesn't really care for me staying out. She don't mind me being on 3 or 4 nights here or there or whatever, but she don't want me staying out for a month at a time and then coming home for 3 or 4 days and then going out for a month again. My youngest son is still in college, and we're still trying to get him put through. He's in his freshman year, and we have a grandson that we spend a lot of time with as well. So you know, that home time is really, really important. Now, getting into this time of year that we're in now, in March, April, May, pretty much going all the way out till late July, we're in our fertilizer season, pulling these tankers. And for the last 2 weeks, we've been running out of Amarillo, Texas, which is 80 miles from my house. And we've been running from Amarillo here to Clovis, New Mexico, and to Littlefield, Texas, which are little 130 mile hauls one way. And yeah, we're having to overnight here in Amarillo, which I'm 80 miles from home, but it's out of route to go home. It's 80 miles the other direction. But if a problem, God forbid, ever arised at my house, then you know, I can be at home in an hour and a half, 2.5 tops, if I'm at the other end of the spectrum here. So I mean, even though we're staying out, we're still at home per se. Also, we run up into Oklahoma and Kansas, and for the most part, I'm never more than 6 hours from the house, even though I'm staying out.
I've seen all the idiots in my life,
and we will usually stay out Monday, you know, Monday through Saturday, and we try to be home on Sundays all the time if we can. If if we can, we try to be home at least one day a week on Sundays. And so, you know, that's kind of my unique situation. Every now and then we'll go out to Arkansas, and you know, we'll go wherever, but we're never gone for 4 weeks or whatever from one end of the country to the other. I have a lot of friends that do run over the road, and they really like it. And if my situation was just a little bit different, as far as soon as my son gets out of college and my daughter kind of gets on her feet a little better to be able to support our grandson a little better, which she does a great job, but you know, just, you know, they're young and everybody needs help, especially with all the stuff we got going on right now with inflation and prices being high and everything else. It's just tough. It's tough for anybody, especially a single mom. And yeah, that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing. Is just it's good right now for me to be home, and later on, after all that's taken care of, then maybe we can get out. And this leads into my next pro of the ag trucking industry. You get to see a lot of this and a lot of this. As you may know, I am pretty keen on the custom truck game. I love it. It's a fun hobby to go and you know, video these trucks that y'all see on the channel here, especially when I do a lot of my little shorts and stuff. And that leads into the YouTube channel here. Being that I'm local a lot, and what I'm going to try to start doing here in the future is to try to start attending more truck shows, more trucking events, and I really would like to get into the media side of trucking. As far as I'm not the best spoken person in the world, as you can tell from this right here, but I'm gradually getting better, and I really would like to start doing interviews with you know, companies and their policies and how they run and what it takes to operate, and then also talking to folks that have these custom trucks, you know, what got them into the game, what they you know, what they look for in a truck, you know, how they started, how they're doing with it, you know, and just get to know these folks, man. There's some really cool people. Yeah, there are some really great people in our industry here, and it's fun to getting to know these people and to be in that atmosphere. And I myself, you know, hope to one day have my own truck again, and again, after all my kids get to where they need to be, to where I can kind of start sinking my money back into that ship, and hope it's a sailing ship and not a sinking ship. So but yeah, so that's the next pro. And one thing, you know, running down the highway over the road, yes, you get to see a lot of cool trucks all the time, but man, they are abundant, especially in the fertilizer side of the game. You got a lot of these big farmers and everything that, you know, they got a ton of money, and they buy these trucks and they run them. You know, they haul in their own fertilizer, and yeah, they haul for the fertilizer companies, you know, and whatnot. And man, they just got some really cool rides, and it's really cool to see. You can sit up there in Woodward, Oklahoma, any given day, and see show truck after show truck after show truck go by, working show truck, and it's cool. I love it. I love it. Now let's delve into one of the cons, and it's not so much a con as it is as a matter of personal preference, I guess you would say. A lot of times, like, we'll get loads, 40 loads, a block of 40 loads at a time, and they'll be like a 150-mile haul. So you're just back and forth for 4 or 5 days, the same route and the same places, just over and over and over. And I've always been one of those guys that I like to take a load here, take a load there, and take a load over there, and then come back and start over again to kind of break up the monotony of it. And a lot of the and a con also within this con is a lot of the roads we have to travel on are farm to market roads, back roads. They're not in really great shape. They don't have no shoulders on them. You know, when you meet a truck, there's only 2 or 3 foot to spare on either side, so it's always pretty tight. And you know, so you got to really be careful in that sense too, and you really have to be paying attention to what's going on. Another con, which also is a pro in the same like, is our hours of service are different. We are ag exempt, and I'm not going to get into exactly the specifics on the ag exemption, but we can run our tails off. And also, when we are in Texas, most of our stuff is within the 150-mile air radius. We do not have to run log books, which old rat rod here is a 1997 model, so we don't have to run log book in it anyway, or e-log in it. We have to run paper logs. So that right there in its own is the con of it, is that you can run pretty hard. You can run some long hours. But the pro with that is you can also make some damn good money. So, and when we talk earlier, when I talked about, you know, talking about some of the, I guess the more corporate companies that are in the ag hauling side of it, your companies that have 200 trucks. We have several companies right here in the Amarillo area that are in the Hereford area that run, you know, 40, 50, 100 trucks. And now them guys will generally run 12-hour shifts, or they will run by the book. They got new trucks and everything. They have to e-log still, even though they are running ag commodities. But they are also only running, most of the time, within a 60 to 80 mile radius of their yard. So it's more like more of a vocational type of setup for them guys. Our area is unique in the sense that there is a lot of ag work right here in ours within a 200-mile radius. If I was to draw a line from somewhere up around Guymon, Oklahoma, down to around Brownfield, Texas, Lubbock, Texas area, and in that line, if you go 60 to 80 miles to the east or west of that line, there is ag work out the ass. Pardon my French, but there is ag work everywhere. I like to call that line the cow trail, because from up there in Guymon down to the Lubbock area, there are feedlots, dairies, packing houses, anything you can shake a stick at, granaries, elevators, fertilizer plants. I mean, it's just inundated with ag work. And you have a lot of these local companies running around day cabs, hauling feed to the feedlots, hauling feed to the packing houses, because of course they still have to feed the cattle. When they ship them into the packing house, they have to take care of them for maybe a day or so until they go onto the slaughter floor. And so they're hauling in feed there. We haul the cottonseed from the gins to the feedlots to feed the cows at the feedlots. And you know, there's just milk trucks, you know, picking up milk from the dairies and hauling them to the processing plant over in Canyon, Texas. There's a company called Lone Star Milk. They got a shitload of trucks, and they are moving milk everywhere. So it's just, there's just a lot of work here. And if you live in this area, another pro is that being home, you know, every night, and probably usually work a 4 on 2 off, or a lot of companies, they'll slip seat and they'll have 3 drivers to 1 truck, and they'll run a 5-2, 5-3. And on a 5-2, 5-3 schedule, you'll have one driver that drives that truck his 5 days. You got the other truck, the driver drives his 5 days. Then when they're on their 2 off and 3 off, you got 1 driver that slip seats back and forth between the 2. We used to run a similar type setup when I was in the oil field. Also, another pro to the ag industry is looking through our crystal ball into the future. When you're talking about not so much electric trucks I really do not have a problem with. The self-driving trucks are going to phase out all us drivers one day. You know, I don't know how long it's going to be, but I do know one thing: in the ag industry, it will happen a lot later than what it will happen to the general freight industry running freight up and down the interstate. Not saying that it's not a hard job running freight up and down the interstate, but when you're on I-40 all day for 700 miles, there's not much you have to compensate for along the way other than traffic. Out here we're doing what we do, going into fields to unload, going into fields to load out of combines and out of bull buggies and everything else, and having to look out for the the tracks where a irrigation pivot has been running around in the field and it's a drop off, that you can lose your whole front end in if you hit it wrong. Negotiating corners, negotiating sand out in these dirt roads, pulling around gin yards, and you name it, going into these feedlots and backing into bins to unload this feed, and overhead bins to load out of. Self-driving trucks rely on sensors. They rely on the striping on the road to stay centered, GPS, a whole lot of different factors go into those self-driving trucks. So I really think, in the long run, that the ag industry, the construction industry, things of that sort will be the last to transition over into the self-driving arena. So that is another pro to having a little more longevity in this industry. I'm 46 years old, and I don't even see it coming to our industry within the next 20 years. So 20 years, I'll be 66. Everybody says, oh, it's time to hang it up, Yeah, they'll say it's time to hang it up, and I don't believe in that. I'm gonna be like my grandpa. My grandpa didn't hang it up until he passed away when he was 84 years old. So it was in his blood, it's in my blood. He loved it, I love it, and I can't see myself doing anything different. I cannot sit at home and do nothing and watch TV. About the only thing I do watch is YouTube, and so I'm gonna be doing this until they put me 6 foot under. So those are some of the pros and cons, and we're right now we're in Amarillo. I'm loaded for Prague, Oklahoma. We're gonna get over there and get unloaded this evening, which is on the other side of Oklahoma City, north of Shawnee. Once we get loaded there, or empty there, I got to run up to Tulsa to the port and reload, and we're going to get back over to Nickerson, Kansas, and I'll unload at Nickerson, Kansas, and then we have 27 loads going from Woodward, Oklahoma, back up to Nickerson, Kansas. So that's some more of that back and forth, but the boss man was good enough to me to give me this one to kind of bounce around and get up there with a little deadhead getting that way. I think there's only going to be out of 800 miles, there'll be 100 miles of deadhead in there, and most of your ag work like we do is 50-50 deadhead, so you're usually going out loaded and coming back empty, going out loaded, coming back empty, just because of the time aspect of it. We don't have time to look for a load coming back when you're only doing a 150 mile haul. Sometimes it does happen that way, but most of the time you're just out and back. So with that being said, y'all, freight rates in our industry can be a little iffy. And what I mean by iffy, in a good freight market like we have right now, your general freight market, flatbed, van, reefer, all that, you guys are getting $3-4 a mile on average, you know, right now, on y'all's loads, doing that, on their loads, doing those type of loads. They get somewhere, they get unloaded, they maybe deadhead 50-100 miles at the most, and you know, reload and get them another $3-4 a mile load. So they're consistently averaging $3 to $4 a mile. Well, on us, we might get $5 a mile on our load, but when it's a 50-50 deadhead, all miles, you're only looking at about $2.50 all miles average, whereas like a freight hauler's getting $3 to $4 and maybe $2.85, you know, on a, if they're getting $3 a mile or whatever, but and they got to bounce 50 miles to get a reload. So but when the freight market's not good, our rates are still about the same, whereas a you know, over the road freight could be only getting $2 a mile. So you know, then we're actually doing a little better. But one thing about ours is it's consistent all the time. That brings us to our final con, and I'm going to lump two of these categories into one here, into one con. And the first one, as you can see here, we're pulling up to grab some diesel, and in ag hauling, you're generally going to use a little more diesel than what you would in any other type of hauling. Generally, we're 84,000 pounds. We're grossed out. And don't even get me started on what we gross out when we're coming out of a field location or a harvest location. I'm not even going to incriminate myself on here. But being grossed out all the time, that puts a lot of, you know, you're just going to use a lot of fuel being grossed out all the time. Also, running dirt roads and running these, a lot of these back roads, country roads, there's a lot of ups and downs, stops and goes. You're not just sitting on the interstate with the cruise set, so you burn a lot more diesel that way as well. Also, we run PTOs to unload with on our cottonseed trailers and on our tankers here, and you're also putting quite a bit of load on the engine when you're doing that as well. So you know, so you're actually going to burn quite a bit more fuel just as an ag hauler. So keep that in mind when you're thinking about it. And right now, you know, fuel is ridiculous. You can see here, this was the second time I filled up this day right here. $460.22 for 97 gallons. And we actually get a little discount with the card we use. We use a NASTIC card, the Fleet One card. We usually get about 30 cents off pump price, so per gallon, and it helps out a lot. But generally, you know, your fuel is going to be more expensive. In the areas we run right here too, we're always fighting to win, especially in the cotton season when we're pulling the high profile vehicles and whatnot. So just that's another thing to keep in mind in this big old ag hauling industry. So this kind of brings us to our second part of this final con here, and that is maintenance. Maintenance is a big deal in the ag industry. We run these trucks heavy all the time. Everywhere we go, we are grossed out. 84,000 pounds with us. For most of the time, that's where we go everywhere. We are permitted, 84, depending on what states we're running in. Some states we can run 85, and that's what we load. We get paid by the ton, so that's what we generally try to stay at. So when you're running that heavy everywhere, it's just and going down back roads that aren't no good, county roads that are in bad shape. You got to take your time. You got to really pay attention to your surroundings, and you don't want to run off in a bunch of washouts. That heavy. I mean, you can break stuff real quick. It's really hard on your suspension. That I was saying. Time to put some tension on the suspension. Pound the ground. So it's really hard on these old trucks when you're running them like that. And another thing, maintenance wise too, is it's just all the dirt we're in all the time. Cottonseed lint during the cottonseed season. During the cottonseed season, about once a month, we have to completely pull our radiator, our air-to-air, our AC condenser, all that completely apart, and get all the cotton lint out of it. These old trucks, they'll start running warm, so that's something you really have to pay attention to. Being in the dirt more often, you got to grease your truck more often. It's just a lot of little things like that. So, the cost of maintenance on an ag truck or a vocational truck is quite a bit more, just due to the nature of the business. So, with that being said, if you're looking to get into the ag world, y'all hit me up if, let's say, if you're wanting to get into it, or if you got any questions or whatever, drop them down in the comments, and if I get enough questions, I might actually do just a video of answering questions, going through and saying your name and what your question was, and to the best of my ability, we'll try to answer the question. And I'm about to lay her down. It's been a long day. We started out in Amarillo, Texas this morning, and went down toward Plainview, Texas, and unloaded, actually at Lockney, Texas. Came back up to Amarillo and reloaded, and now we are sitting just north of Shawnee, Oklahoma, on the east side of Oklahoma City. I just got unloaded out here. Of course, you've seen a little bit of the B-roll footage there. This farmer was pretty cool right here. He told me I could stay the night right here at his place, and so I'm gonna lay it down right here. And then in the morning when I get up, I'll probably get up about 5 o'clock, and we're gonna pie y'all up to Tulsa, Oklahoma. Actually, Verdigris, Oklahoma, right there at Tulsa, at the port of Catoosa. And we're gonna reload some more fertilizer, and we're gonna head on over to Nickerson, Kansas, which is up there just north and west of Wichita, Kansas, Hutchinson, Kansas. We have about 37 loads to haul from Woodward, Oklahoma up there, and I'm actually closer to the port right now than I am Woodward, Oklahoma, so I'm going to go grab one of those loads at the port and take it over there, and then we'll start taking them from Woodward up there. And got a phone call that we're supposed to be getting some more loads too, going from Amarillo to Woodward to Amarillo, to restock the 40 loads we just hauled out of there last week. So busy. Ag exempt. It's that time of year. This time of year, I'm usually dragging ass everywhere, because we're usually running 7 days a week. We usually start 4 or 5 in the morning, and usually it's anywhere between 10 and midnight when we decide to lay it down. when these type of seasons, harvest, planting season, fertilizer season, it's all seasonal, and it all has to be done within a certain time frame. And you can't just go haul one load and work a half a day, 8 hours, 9 hours, 10 hours. These loads are ordered. They have to get to the farmers, and they have to get it in the ground. They have deadlines from the government they have to meet to get their subsidies and whatnot. And that's why there's ag exemptions, for that reason right there. Just because when the time's there, it's got to be done within a certain amount of time, and it takes all hands on deck to get it done. So with that being said, I appreciate everybody watching. Thanks for hanging out with us today. Be sure to hit that like button if you're new. Consider hitting that subscribe button. And like I said, drop some comments. And if you have any questions about anything, let me know, and maybe we'll do a question and answer forum on one of these next videos. And I'm not, if I can ever get shut down before at a decent time, which is 11 o'clock right now, if I never get shut down around 8 o'clock one of these evenings, I plan on doing a live. So we'll try to get that worked in as well. So keep the shiny side up, the hammer down, and we'll see y'all on the next